is Christian.
My name is Nolan, and our topic is physician-assisted suicide and euthanasia.
Euthanasia is when a third party kills someone.
And physician-assisted suicide is when someone commits suicide. They were given drugs by a doctor.
Keep going, keep going.
No, that's all we know.
All we need.
Go.
If the law was well regulated,
Keep on going.
if the law was well regulated, then it would be less about the right to kill and more about the right to die for the patients that are suffering.
There you go.
The issue with physician-assisted suicide is that it can be viewed to violate the blessings of liberty. This is because people should have the right to choose what they want to do.
And this is a state-level matter because the states have the right to decide whether they should allow it or not allow it within their boundaries. Perfect.
We should not allow euthanasia as a mean to commit suicide. These people do have the power to commit suicide. They're not forced to be stuck to the life support system. And there is many examples, there are many definitions of terminally ill. One example that Dr. Kirkabonian said is that terminal means any disease that curtails death for even a day. And also, Dr. Chabot defined terminal as any suicidal patients.
But that can be avoided through a carefully drafted law, and they can define what terminally ill is in the law so that there won't be that issue. In 2006, 69% of Americans supported physician-assisted suicide and 27% opposed it.
But these people may not have fully understood the pros and cons of physician-assisted suicide. The Western world has always understood murder as the intentional killing of another human being. With euthanasia, this would help support the condemned killers.
But murder is without the consent of the person that is being killed, and physician-assisted suicide is with the consent of the patient who is being killed.
Go.
I support physician-assisted suicide because those who are terminally ill will be able to bring their lives to an easeful end through physician-assisted suicide.
The issue of physician-assisted suicide and euthanasia is that it's not about the right to die, it's about the right to kill. And doctors having these laws in place will be able to kill people.
Another supporting reason is it's not about the quantity of someone's life, but it's about the quality of their life. If some years of their life aren't up to the best quality, then they should have the choice to be able to end it by physician-assisted suicide.
But when people do this, they don't realize the consequences of their actions, and they may go to physician-assisted suicide and end up it not being the best choice. A democratic value that is against physician-assisted suicide is the is the common good, which states that which requires that individual citizens have the commitment and motivation that they accept their obligation to promote the welfare of the community. Suicide affects more than the only who kills themselves. It negatively affects the common good of the U.S. citizens.
Some people who are terminally ill don't have the power to actually kill themselves, and it's much easier to be killed by a doctor when you sign consent form.
Against euthanasia is that it can be for a financial reason. The financial reason is that it's between $75 and $100, and it can be a lot cheaper than lifelong prescription drugs.
But some people have such a slim chance of surviving these diseases that they would be avoiding an unnecessary medical bill by going through euthanasia.
Why is this so challenging?
An amendment that supports physician-assisted suicide is the 14th Amendment, Section 1. It says that no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property. Having life taken in assisted suicide is part of the liberties guaranteed to all U.S. citizens. Liberties is defined as the state of being free. Assisted suicide should be considered as being free.
Another reason against euthanasia is that it can be for a financial reason. The reason is that the average cost of lethal drugs is between $75 and $100.
I think we should allow physicians physician-assisted suicide because if we allow our pets to be euthanized, then I think we should allow the suffering humans to be euthanized.
But a pet's life is not as significant as a person's life. A person's life is more valued and it's longer. It's a longer life.
issue with euthanasia is that it will reinforce mental genetics, which is selectively breeding people to weed out less desirable groups. This will weaken the disabled minority group, which in turn will we gotta cut.
Yeah, we will.
Democratic value. The major core democratic value is the common good, which requires the individual citizens have the commitment and the motivation that they accept their obligation to promote the welfare of the community. And with suicide, it affects the community in a negative manner, and
Erase it.
an example of what euthanasia and assisted suicide will do is with Dr. Kevorkian, who was nicknamed Dr. Death, and he went around the country assisting suicidal patients with death, and he committed over 100 deaths. He viewed it that he was helping the patients, and he was later tried and convicted of murder after he videotaped one of his murders, and he was tried and convicted to life in prison.
Another reason supporting physician-assisted suicide is that in the Netherlands, 0.8% of all deaths are from physician-assisted suicide, and that shows that there's not a large amount of people that would be flocking to do physician-assisted suicide.
But it was found that some of the people who have died were without the patient's consent.
My name is Nolan.
My name is Christian.
Thank you for watching.
Once again, if the law was carefully drafted, it wouldn't be targeting people with disabilities. It would be only targeting people that are terminally ill. A core democratic value that supports physician-assisted suicide is the personal freedom section of the right to liberty. It is defined as the understanding that the political or personal obligations of parents or ancestors cannot be legitimately forced on people, including private calls in which the individual is free to act, think, and believe. If a terminally ill person thinks that suicide is the best way out, the government cannot go against those beliefs. Physician-assisted suicide would be the best way out for these people.